Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our daily reflection, our daily Lent reflection. And today is Friday. It's the first Friday in the first week of Lent. And our two scripture readings are taken from Ezekiel 18, verses 21 to 28, and excuse me, Matthew 5, verses 20 to 26. The quote comes from Matthew 5, verses 23 and 24. Quote, "If you bring your gift to the altar and there recall that your brother has anything against you, leave your gift at the altar, go first to be reconciled with your brother, and then come and offer your gift." End quote. Our reflection for today is the new law of Jesus. The disciples were waiting for Jesus. Finally, he came. He went up the hillside and began to speak to them. How fortunate they were! They heard Jesus preach the Sermon on the Mount. Certainly they were fortunate, but they were also probably a little confused and maybe even shocked. Jesus told them that he came not to abolish the law and the prophets, but to fulfill them. This implied, of course, that the old law, the one they knew and loved, was unfinished, incomplete. It would not find its completion in Jesus. In his picturesque way of preaching, Jesus not only declares a principle, but also gives 6 concrete examples of how the old law is to be fulfilled. One of the examples, featured in today's gospel, concerns the commandment which forbids murder. Jesus declares that the new law forbids not only murder, but also the anger, which is the root of murder. Then he goes on to forbid abusive language, which is nothing more than an outward expression of the inner anger. Clearly, Jesus does not abolish the law against murder. He simply demands much more, a moral integrity and holiness which surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees. At the same time, the preaching of Jesus is supremely realistic. He seems to assume that people, despite their moral efforts, will at times yield to anger. What then? Then follows the sacred duty of reconciliation. If you bring your gift to the altar and there recall that your brother has anything against you, leave your gift at the altar, go first to be reconciled with your brother, and then come and offer your gift. And that's the quote taken from Matthew. As startling as the statement is to us, it was no doubt even more startling to those who were listening to Jesus. Worship was for them the most sacred duty, but Jesus is saying that even worship must be postponed for reconciliation. The Sermon on the Mount no doubt posed serious questions for people who first listened to it. It poses serious questions for us too. It certainly challenges the moral minimalism which so many of us espouse. Why is it still so easy for us to spin out our legalisms and excuses that water down the new law of love? How can we pride ourselves on being disciples of Jesus when we so frequently and so casually accept moral ideals and norms that fall so short of his? Moreover, it challenges our worship. The Eucharist is the sign and pledge of Christ's love for us. The Eucharist is a call to renewed love within the community of believers. The Eucharist demands the spirit of forgiveness, the desire for reconciliation, the sign of peace. There can be no complete Eucharistic worship if our hearts remain cold and closed to our brothers and sisters. As it was with the scribes and Pharisees, so it is with us. It is not our human weakness that keeps us from the Lord. It is our pride, our arrogance, our coldness. The ease with which we rationalize our lack of love may, in the final analysis, be what keeps the Sermon on the Mount from penetrating our hearts. So that's the end of the reflection. I just want to add that don't forget, pride is one of the deadly sins, one of the 7 deadly sins. And I'll do a future video on those, the 7 deadly sins, because they're very, very important. And I think, reconciling the 7 deadly sins is what's going to save us from eternal damnation. So let's continue with our prayer. Our prayer with respect to today's reflection is coming from Psalms 130, verses 3 and 4. And it is, quote, "If you, O Lord, mark our iniquities, Lord, who can stand? But with you is forgiveness, that you may be revered," end quote. And our practice for today is, today I will forgive from my heart all who have hurt me in any way. Okay, so that's it for today. That is an incredible practice, which is very, very hard to do. It's easy to say, but difficult to do. But please do make every effort possible to put it into practice. And if you can do that, you are well on your way to observing the laws, the new laws of Jesus. Okay, so have a great day. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.